Shiranui Hanten, the backup of Ajimu Najimi and the second true not equal in the series. He's a character that does very little in the story despite being present for many of the most major events, but even so I think there is a little hidden depth to the man who took 73 chapters to even show their face. So if you want to know what I mean by all this, then keep watching the video. And if you find yourself entertained at any point during the video, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing that bell, as I cannot explain to you how much just more action can do for this channel. Anyway, on with the video. Now Hanten, as we all know, is the double, the backup of Najimi. As such, he does nothing more than stand by her side. He watches over the godlike being. That is his purpose. The reason he came to take on this role is not entirely clear. All we know is that 150 years ago the two met and he took on the role as her double. As Najimi says herself, he is the first person she'd met who intrigued her, as he is the first ever person to be able to share her mindset as a not equal. Not equals are beings who are neither positive or negative, not a plus or a minus. They are akin to gods, they stand on a different plane to all others, they are not equal to them in any regard. And so he does not interfere, he stands as an observer. He is not someone who would interrupt or advance the progression of humans. Whether good or bad, he does not take action, as such concepts matter not to him. He is above such things, as only a god can truly look at this world with objective eyes. He was fascinated by peculiar things because they stood out to him. He liked how they stood different from everything else. That's why he was drawn to Najimi, as she was not like everything else. She existed above it. The only person equal to him are not equal. However, despite all this talk of non-interference of godhood, Hanten was still human. As the overall lesson of Medaka book states, we are all humans no matter who or what we are. Even Najimi the god, with trillions of skills, was still human, and so of course Hanten is too. I mean, you just need to look a little deep and you'll understand this. As he says himself, he imitated her. He became as not equal as her to serve as her double, meaning he couldn't have been the exact same as her to begin with. 10,000 years ago he created the Shiranui household to serve as his backups. But why would he do this if he didn't value his own life? Why worry about such things as legacy and keeping his role intact if you are a god who stands apart from humanity? Because he is still human. He may see himself as detached, but that's just how he thinks. Remember, not equal is just a mentality, just a mindset. He thinks like a god, but he isn't one, not truly. And the biggest example of this is of course what happens when Najimi, his partner, dies. When Ajimu Najimi was killed, her final wish was for Hanten to protect Kurokami Medaka, or so that is what he assumed it was. She died letting Medaka escape, so that is the conclusion he came to. That must have been her intention. He'd known her so long that he was sure of it, and so he protects her, saving her from Ahiko and then trying to convince her to stay away from the village. Short as her backup, it's only natural that he assumes the role of Medaka's protector. After all, is what Najimi would do. And he now served as her successor as her backup, so that's just normal, right? As he says, he didn't interfere with Najimi's actions when she was alive, no matter how foolish, as a shadow does not hinder its caster. Yet when she dies, he doesn't just sit idly by, he doesn't observe without emotion like a not equal should. No, he blames Medaka for her death and says he will never forgive her. He shows emotion, he shows how much he genuinely cared for Najimi, not as her backup, but as her friend, as a human being. He insists on keeping Medaka away from Ahiko. He says that if Medaka fights, then it will be as if Najimi gave up her life for nothing. But this is where his grave misunderstanding rears its ugly head. Najimi didn't die so they could escape and run away. She died so they could crawl back up and win. She was a woman who made the impossible possible. A woman who fought the very concept of impossibility. So she never would just tell someone to give up. Hanten may have been her backup, her shadow and her double, but he wasn't her. No double can truly become another person, only you are truly you. He didn't understand what she truly wanted, what she truly held value in, because he isn't her. He didn't go through the same things as her, nor learn the same lessons as she did. Hanten's failure to properly understand Najimi is a mirror of Shiranui, how just being Medaka's double didn't make her happy, how only a true friendship with Medaka, a proper human connection, could bring them together, and make her happy. Hanten is flawed like all humans are. He thought he was some grand god-like being, but that was never true. He just imitated the first person he ever met who blew him away. He was inspired by Najimi, a being above him in all ways, and so he tried to be like her. He became her backup not just for the purpose of preserving such a peculiar existence, but at least in my opinion, to try form a connection with the one person he admired and wanted to be close to. It wasn't just that he didn't understand her true thoughts when he berated Medaka, he also didn't want his friend's death to amount to nothing. He said that Medaka wasn't some superwoman and that risking her life to save a double wasn't worth it. And to me this is just his projection. He sees Najimi and Medaka and doesn't want Medaka to die in the same way. Najimi wasn't a superwoman either. He didn't get why Najimi fought to the death with Ahiko. They had already fought many times but never had she died. Yet now she had and he couldn't accept it. His friend was dead, the person she died saving now wants to throw herself back into the same situation again. Of course he'd be against it because that is only human. But because he is only human, he can't stand above others like a god. He can't be a true not equal if he is brought to anger by a mere human's words and actions. He turned his back on reality, on the truth. The reason he is always facing away is simple, because he doesn't want to be seen as a person, he just wants to be Najimi's double. He turned away from his humanity, but no one can ever do that forever, and so when she died, when he felt grief and anger, the emotions of a human, then he showed his face. He was only a god and not equal for her sake, and now with her gone he has no need for such a role, since he did it all for her, for his friend who he admired above all else. And I think one of the best ways to conclude this video is with Medaka's words to Hanten, the words that made him understand that he was wrong.
The amount of time you've been with her doesn't matter at all. If you plan to do that, then I'll also inherit Anshin'ins' will. I'll repay her debt to the Shiranui.
He can't gatekeep Najimi, he can't expect to fully understand her no matter how long he has known her, but at the same time he cannot deny that he also meant something to her, that just as much as he feels he has to honour her legacy and respect her actions, she too has a debt to him, that she and him aren't so different, that they are both just human. And if you want to go the extra mile in supporting this channel, then consider pledging to my Patreon, where for as little as £2.75 a month, you can get your name at the end of the video, like Hikari Desu, 7SO, Ringjack9696, Dewey, and General Tonyos. So with all that said and done, I've been SephTheSin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I'm signing out. Stay safe, everyone.